Welcome to Exhibition, an Xbox podcast, episode number 25. My name is Samuel Adams, and we have a big show lined up for you this week because we are in the midst of two of the biggest releases of the year, Forza Horizon 5 and Call of Duty Vanguard. We'll talk more about both of these games. I'll give some impressions of Forza Horizon 5, and we'll talk about this pretty massive play count even before the official launch of the game later this week. On top of that, we've got a big team up between Sega and Microsoft. We're talking about some Halo Infinite Season 1 Battle Pass news and lots of other stuff to break down. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Let's start off today's show with Forza Horizon 5, which already has nearly 1 million players before its official release. This comes from Andy Robinson over at VGC, who writes that some 800,000 people have paid for early access following the racer's excellent reviews, and we're talking about 9s and 10 out of 10s across the board. A lot of discussion around this being a Game of the Year contender. But Robinson writes, quote, "According to the racer's Hall of Fame leaderboard, which compares stats against every other player in the game, some 800,000 users across PC and Xbox are already playing the game via the $99 Premium Edition, which includes early access. The Standard Edition and Game Pass access don't go live until Forza Horizon 5's official release date of Tuesday, November the 9th. Game Pass subscribers can currently purchase the Premium Edition's add-ons, including early access, for $45. As an aside, that's what I did. That means the first-party Xbox title has already grossed between $36 million and $79 million before its general release on November the 9th. Looking like a pretty massive launch for Forza Horizon 5, and it is very well deserved. Now, is this a perfect game? Absolutely not. I've probably spent about 7 hours with the game so far, and it is incredibly impressive, but it definitely feels like Forza Horizon 4. It is not a revolutionary step forward in terms of graphics, and I think that's partially due to this being a cross-generational title. We still have the Xbox One release that is factored into this equation, and so while Microsoft might not admit it, I do think that that is kind of holding games back a bit, and that's to be expected. Every generation has this issue. Battlefield 4, a cross-generational title on both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, was held back by still being released on the previous generation of consoles. That just is what it is. But Forza Horizon 5 still looks phenomenal on the Xbox Series X. I'm personally playing in performance mode and it runs flawlessly. But it's not perfect. So what I mean by this is that it has a very steady frame rate. It runs very, very well. But I do notice some foliage pop in. There is some rendering distance that is factored into the equation here that's not quite as disguised as I had hoped that it would be. But this is just me being nitpicky. I'm looking for details that I can point out that make this, something that can be iterated on and improved upon. Overwhelmingly, this game runs well, looks beautiful, and there are times where it is photorealistic. The environments are wonderful, and I think there is still room for improvement in the franchise, but Forza Horizon 5 for me was a no-brainer. Even if I didn't have Game Pass, I was going to get this on day one because Forza Horizon is a very unique franchise for one specific reason. It blends arcade racing and simulation very well. The cars have weight to them. They feel realistic. You can certainly feel the difference between each individual vehicle that you're driving. So you have a bit of a simulator seasoning on there. But overwhelmingly, this is an arcade racer, a la Burnout or Need for Speed. It still has that feel, but it's not quite as loose, I suppose, for lack of a better term. It's not quite as free when it comes to what you choose. These cars aren't just skins. If you're driving a Camaro, you're driving a Camaro. If you're driving a box truck, you're literally driving a box truck. You can feel the difference in these vehicles, not just based on their stats, but based on their weight, based on their acceleration. There are some specifics here that make this game stand out from a Burnout or a Need for Speed. So it hits that middle point to where it hits the gearheads and it hits the novice general racing fan. And that's something that no other franchise has really nailed in the way that Forza Horizon has nailed it. Plus, If anything, Forza Horizon 5 brings the Horizon Festival to Mexico, which is much more of a fit for that kind of event as compared to Great Britain. Forza Horizon 4, I always describe it as elegant. It's an elegant take on racing because it did have fun little poppy things here and there, but the jungles and the mountains of Mexico and the volcano and so many other details that are brought from Forza Horizon 5 just make it feel like a natural fit. But I'm already looking forward to Forza Horizon 6. Of course, I'm going to put hundreds of hours into Forza Horizon 5 over the course of the next couple of years, but I'm excited to see a full next generation Forza experience. That's going to be a game changer because while Forza Horizon 5 looks and plays wonderfully, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg for what's possible for this franchise. But a lot of people are getting it. Of course, nearly 1 million in the pre-release weekend alone. On top of that, the game hits Game Pass on Tuesday, and it is going to be released worldwide across Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. So if you do want to dive in, highly recommend it. And I don't want to give it a rating right now because I don't have enough experience and hands-on time with the game to warrant a review. But if you enjoyed Forza Horizon 4, you're going to enjoy Forza Horizon 5. It iterates and improves upon nearly every aspect of that game, and it still has those great visuals to boot, so it's certainly worth checking out. Now let's bounce over and talk about this strategic alliance between Sega and Microsoft. This is not going to lead to Sonic exclusively releasing on Microsoft platforms. This is not going to lead to some kind of acquisition from Microsoft. Is that possible in the future? If they bought Bethesda, anything's possible. But I think this is more of just a technology partnership to help Sega build something greater. In fact, build something that sounds like it's going to be a very big idea. So this report comes from Matt Perslow over at IGN, who writes, quote, Sega and Microsoft have announced that they have agreed to a strategic alliance that will see Sega produce games built on Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. He continues, this proposed alliance represents Sega looking ahead, and by working with Microsoft to anticipate such trends as they accelerate further in the future, the goal is to optimize development processes and continue to bring high-quality experiences to players using Azure cloud technologies, said Sega's statement. A similar agreement was made between Microsoft and Sony back in 2019, which also focused on the use of the Azure cloud system. Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing service. It should be noted that Azure offers a variety of software, platform, and infrastructure services, and so Sega's use of Azure does not necessarily point to Sega working on games played in the cloud or a cloud gaming service. The cloud is being used for many aspects of game development, including AI, and so Sega and Microsoft's partnership has many potential outcomes, end quote. I think this is more so going to be a tool in the utility belt for Sega to help them make their super game or whatever that's going to be. As a side note, I always hesitate when I see a company setting out to make a super game because it's very difficult to make a hit. I think about how companies have been coming after World of Warcraft for decades to try and dethrone the MMO king, and they say they're going to make this WoW killer. When you say that, that's almost, at this point, a red flag that you, in fact, are not. And so whenever Sega says they're making a super game, well, we'll see about that, I suppose, won't we? But my hesitations aside, as far as Sega's plans go, this makes sense because Azure is super solid. As somebody who works full-time for a tech company that's heavily invested in the Azure technology that powers Microsoft's cloud platform, it's pretty dang good. Very impressive stuff. And so can't blame Sega or Sony for that matter for wanting to use it to, enable their developers to make cool stuff. But I think from a gaming perspective, what excites me about this partnership are the conversations that happen between the meetings, the conversations that happen before the team's calls end. When you start to build rapport with people in other companies, you start to find new ways that these companies can collaborate, and you have ideas. So if there's a call between Sega and Microsoft and they're discussing building a game on this platform, they might start talking about the game and Microsoft say, hey, we know a guy over in the Xbox division that might want to talk to you. Would you be interested? Then that connection's made, conversations start, and boom, you could have something that flourishes just from that one little instance. So that, in my opinion, is something that I think excites me. But I digress. This is exciting to see, and I'm glad to see Microsoft continuing to play nice with other people because their technology is so foundational in everything from gaming to business to connectivity, anything. Microsoft is doing it. And so to be able to have these tools enables developers to make cooler projects, bigger projects, scale their projects, and continue growing the art of gaming. And I think that's super exciting for me. But Sega and Microsoft coming together. Big super game coming soon. We will see what happens. Wouldn't that be funny if super game was just like literally a code name for a Superman game? That's not happening, but boy, just imagine that for a minute and then laugh with me. Because it's not happening. 6 days before the release of Bethesda's Skyrim Anniversary Edition, we finally have pricing for this new piece of software. The Skyrim Anniversary Edition bundles together Skyrim Special Edition with every piece of Creation Club content released at the time of the Anniversary Edition's launch, including additional quest, armor, and gameplay modes. And you can pick that up for $19.99 if you want to upgrade from the Special Edition, or the Anniversary Edition will cost you $49.99. So, if you do want to get involved and you do want to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Skyrim, you can pick up that Anniversary Edition or upgrade your Special Edition, which is included in Xbox Game Pass. So, for me, this is a pretty good deal because you've got the Creation Club content, but on top of that, you've got never-before-seen missions and new content being added to this game for the first time that also ties into Oblivion and Morrowind. So if you're a longtime Elder Scrolls fan, this is going to be a piece of content that you will adore because it is a throwback to the days of old. It builds out the lore that you know and love. And I think that this edition is going to be the ultimate edition for those that are hardcore Skyrim fans. Because, you know, the game has been memed to death over the few years. You're talking about the arrow in the knee. We're talking about the, oh, you're finally awake kind of thing. But at its core, it is still a legendary RPG that redefined what it meant to build a world in gaming. Skyrim will forever be legendary, and there's a reason that it has continued to release on generation after generation, time after time. It's because people still love this game, and people still love playing this game. And so if you do want to play Skyrim on the 10th anniversary, it is, of course, available via Game Pass, but if you do want to pick up the Anniversary Edition, you can upgrade for $20 if you have the Special Edition, or you can pick it up outright for $49.99. Overall, a pretty good deal for me. Personally, I was expecting $60 full and $30 for the upgrade, so a little bit cheaper than even I anticipated. Still super weird that they waited until the last minute to let us know how much it was going to be, but to each their own. And now, my friends, it's that time of the week where I ramble endlessly about Halo Infinite. Just kidding, it's not going to be that bad. But I do feel bad about continuing to bring up Halo Infinite time after time, week after week, because I know many of you probably don't care about Halo Infinite. And for those people, I put timestamps down in the description. You're welcome. Those take extra time. But I did want to talk about this Battle Pass plan revealed from IGN in an exclusive collaboration with Microsoft to let people know what's coming when Halo Infinite launches on December the 8th. We've got a lot to dig into here, and I would recommend you go over and check out the entire interview with the team at 343 by Miranda Sanchez. Really good stuff because IGN sat down with Halo Infinite's head of design, Jerry Hook, and lead progression designer, Chris Blome, to discuss how Halo Infinite's approach to free-to-play is different from others on the market and how they hope to keep players of all kinds returning to the storied FPS. So, before we dive into this, a couple of points that they also discuss here in this interview, but the Battle Pass system is going to be more so of a DLC setup, in my opinion, than you see from a lot of games that release today. And what I mean by this is that Battle Passes are going to be evergreen. You can pick up the Battle Pass released in January, you can pick up the Battle Pass released in March, you can pick up the one released in May, and you can switch back and forth between these at will. There is no expiration, there is no timed exclusivity for specific items, and if they're gone, you're never getting them again. You have the opportunity to pick stuff up at your leisure, and that's perfect for somebody like me who has a full-time job, who has a girlfriend, who has family obligations, who does a lot of freelance stuff and hobby stuff like YouTube. I might not always have time to grind through an entire Battle Pass, but I do over time. I always make time. And so to be able to go back and pick these up at my leisure and play through them at my will is super great. And I'm looking forward to seeing other groups, like Fortnite, for instance, pick up this model and run with it, maybe even Warzone. But we will see how that goes and how that comes out in the games in the years ahead. But when it comes to the Battle Pass, this is what you can expect. You see it here embedded into the IGN article, but you got a lot of great Halo Reach style stuff coming in the first Season 1 Battle Pass, which is Heroes of Reach. You see armor, you see AI, you see helmets, and then on top of that, you also have some death animations here, which I think are super cool. But a lot of this stuff just exudes Halo. It feels like Halo. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm seeing from Halo Infinite is that 343 is getting back to the basics, and they really are tapping into that lore. They're tapping into the Halo experiences that people know and love. And you don't see any kind of flashy, strange collaborations with people. You don't see any kind of big, over-the-top branded pieces of content coming out in the first Battle Pass. What you see are pieces of content that are carefully chosen to hit that core Halo community that could be coming back for the first time in years to see what Halo Infinite is all about. You've got to wow the longtime Halo fan because those are the people that dictate the direction of the franchise and the success of this game. But you also have to be welcoming to the newcomer, to be welcoming to those that might just have picked up an Xbox Series X or S. The game launches December 8th. I'm thinking about the 13-year-old that's going to be picking up Halo Infinite for the first time whenever their parent gives it to them for Christmas, or they get Game Pass with their Xbox Series X or S underneath the tree. That is who you also have to target because those are the future players. Those are the people that are going to be the next generation of players after the old heads are long and gone, or long gone, I should say. And so when it comes to the Battle Pass, again, very Halo Reach inspired. They say, quote, "We know people like Halo Reach, and we knew the story was going to have another Reach beat. In the paperback books, there's a Reach beat in Halo Shadows of Reach after Halo 5. The Infinity goes back to Reach, so we just started full speed ahead on the best of the Reach customization. As expected with a season title of Heroes of Reach, the first Armor Core will feature Halo Reach customization options. The Battle Pass is an opportunity to also unlock the Mark V and the customization options for it." Of course, I picked off a couple of sentences there that highlight the value, but ultimately, some very cool customization options here. But what I also like comes later in the interview here with the question of, will we see uncharacteristic emotes? We all see these emotes in Fortnite that have people flossing and doing various dances, and emotes have become a big part of how people express themselves in games, but also in how development teams monetize their content. And so they say, quote, "We struggled a lot with dance moves for Spartans. We feel that more traditional players would reject Master Chief flossing. However, personal AI can go crazy. AI can do what it wants to do. That way you can preserve the militaristic feel without having to break what you would consider canon. Unless, of course, Joseph Staten makes up a whole new story about dancing Master Chief, but until that happens, we have personal AI," Hook said with a laugh, end quote. This is the best way to do this, and I'll tell you why. I just finished reading Fall of Reach. It's on my shelf behind me. I'm about to jump into book 2. I've got it ordered, on the way, shipped, and ready to rock. But what I love about Spartans is that they're these robotic, militaristic children that were raised into adults that are war machines. They have emotions, but they override those emotions with raw training, drive, and grit, and dedication to the UNSC and to preserving the human race. That's what I love and adore about Spartans. Their drive to win, their dedication to their craft, and their passion for what they do. To see flossing come in, for example, would have completely taken away from what the Spartans are and who they are. With AI, that's a totally different situation because, once again, in Fall of Reach, one of the first things they bring up when introducing Cortana as the AI is that she's not like other AI. She has a personality. She brings her own take to every situation. She goes through UNSC files that she's not assigned to go through because she wants to know what's going on and learn more information. And so whenever you have a personality and you have autonomy in these AI. I think it's very important to give them personality. And so if that is dancing during a cutscene, if that is dancing during an emote, whatever it might be, I think that having the ability to add emotes for your AI just adds more value to those customized voices that we hear. I'm thinking about the Morty style AI that was in the beta, or I should say the open test flight. Those kind of touches add more personality to your AI. So while the multiplayer experience that you get might not feature Master Chief and Cortana, it features you and your AI. You have a personality, the AI has a personality. And so it adds a ton of value to that experience you get without continuing to tie it to Chief and Cortana. And so to build out a character that has personality, I think to be able to customize that and make that personality your own is something that is super, super cool. So I'm looking forward to diving into Season 1. Of course, we are also celebrating 20 years of Halo in the Master Chief Collection, and there are tons of unlockables that are coming in the weeks and months ahead, really over the course of the next 2 months. And we're talking everything from this plushie that you can use as back bling in Halo 3 that features a grunt holding a plasma grenade, all the way to a literal Xbox and Duke controller, back bling and shoulder set coming soon. In fact, coming next week to celebrate the 20th anniversary, but also available in the weeks ahead. But there is an entire rundown on the Halo Waypoint, and then there are nameplates, lots to celebrate here. But if you do want to check it out, there is an entire rundown of when you can unlock these things. They're going to be available in the Exchange in the Master Chief Collection. And so right now, the Orion armor is available. Then you have the Duke shoulders that are coming on November the 10th, alongside the Beast, the Halo 3 multiplayer back bling of the original Xbox. And if you want to check this stuff out, it's available for preview right now. You can see how it would look on your Spartan. I put up a YouTube short a couple of days ago. You can find that over at youtube.com/jampacksam. But on top of that, you've also got some skins coming to the BR, the AR, the Spanker in December, and the Sniper Rifle in December as well. But the Mirage armor, the rucksack from Halo 3, tons of other customization items here. But what I am looking forward to the most between November and December are the Duke shoulders and the Beast coming on November the 10th. But on top of that, the X-Pack coming on December 22nd, and the Giant Plush also coming on the 22nd, just a couple of days before Christmas. Looks very good. Very, very, very good. And so what I'm looking forward to are seeing how the Master Chief Collection and Halo Infinite coincide with each other and coexist with each other, because both of these games bring value. The old Halo games don't just become worthless because Halo Infinite is out. In fact, it's these legacy games that got Xbox through what I would consider to be one of the most difficult periods of time in its existence, and that's the beginning of the Xbox One generation. Halo the Master Chief Collection was very, very broken, but it was still bringing people the experience that they remember from back in the day. And it still tied that nostalgia to the Xbox brand and showed people that Microsoft was still Halo at its core, and it still brought those classic experiences. And so now we have a renaissance of Xbox that's happening right now for 2020 and 2021 with the Series X and S, but these customization items just look phenomenal. Huge fan of the nameplates as well, and there are just a few examples here, but you've got the Master Chief Cat, 20th anniversary of Halo, Clippy from Microsoft, and Master Chief, of course, looking up. But man, what a good time to be a Halo fan between the Infinite Battle Pass being revealed and between the 20th anniversary of Halo coming to the Master Chief Collection. Lots to dive into, but there will be even more to dive into in the future because Halo Infinite could get an early access bundle and at least 4 DLC packs. In short, this comes from an early look at the Xbox backend that has DLC preloaded onto the store ready to rock, and on top of that, the early access bundle. And so those are pretty much the only details that we have so far. There are no descriptions. We don't know what's coming in these. But I will say this early access bundle, I think this is going to be a new way that Xbox is going to be monetizing Game Pass games and experiences, because you could wait until release day to play Forza Horizon 5, or hypothetically, if this article is accurate, you could wait until release day to play Halo Infinite. Or you could purchase the DLC early. You could go ahead and lock in that $100 premium edition and you get early access. And so you will probably have a lot of people and a lot of games bringing this to market and a lot of people buying it. And I think that's pretty wise because for early access, let's say you get a week of early access. I'm definitely going to be going in for that, especially if it comes with all four of these DLC packs that could release over the course of the next year. Absolutely, totally in for that. And so I would say this is probably going to be something you see released or announced, I should say, during the Halo 20th anniversary live stream. I know Xbox is planning an event on the day of, so I would tune into that. But you could see something on Monday drop on the Xbox Wire. That also makes sense as well because we're getting pretty close to the release date. I mean, we're talking about November the 6th is when I'm recording this. It'll go up on the 7th. We are just about 1 month away from the launch of Halo Infinite. So it's very important to get people in the know, let them know what to expect because this changes the game. You've got tons of people getting the Legendary Edition console starting towards the end of next week or the beginning of the following week. You've got the controllers that are on their way. There's a lot coming and going, and the holiday season is here. So you need to let people know what to expect, when to take time off of work if they are taking time off of work for these games. But I could not be more excited for Halo Infinite and the Battle Pass. Looking forward to diving in and getting my hands on some of these sick customizations. I love that death animation. Just can't get enough of that. But again, Halo Infinite, December the 8th. A lot of stuff going on right now in the Master Chief Collection. Happy 20 years of Halo is really all I have to say. Looking forward to more. Forza Horizon 5's early access was not the only big game to come out on Friday. We also saw some Call of Duty Vanguard reviews drop, and the game also hit PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. And it's not getting the 10 out of 10 and the 9 out of 10 that we've come to expect. Here is the review roundup from VG247 with Attack of the Fanboy giving it a 4 out of 5, Game Informer with an 8, VGC 3 out of 5, GameSpot at a 7. GamesBeat's review is in progress, but they have noted some bugs that are in there impacting the overall experience. I know I watched Game Informer's review, and overwhelmingly the campaign has forgettable characters and a lot of missed moments that seem to have been kind of flat when they could have been very vibrant and very blown up, pardon the pun. But Call of Duty Vanguard seems to be one that I'll probably pass for this year, and that is difficult for me because I grew up on Call of Duty, and November's Call of Duty time. Like, that's just how I know this time of the year, because I always used to go out and buy the latest Modern Warfare, Black Ops, whatever it was, I would play it. But one thing that I've noticed over the past few years, and one thing that I wanted to point out while I discussed Call of Duty Vanguard, is that since these companies have begun to work cooperatively to make these games happen on an annualized basis, it seems like they're starting to bleed over into one another. Back in the day when Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer were the big companies making Call of Duty games, each had its own feel. Each had its own different take on Call of Duty. Black Ops felt more arcadey for me. Modern Warfare had a grittier tone to it. Sledgehammer games felt experimental and the guns felt different. The gameplay felt different. But now you've got Vanguard running on the Modern Warfare engine. Technically, it's a Sledgehammer game, but Raven Software is involved. These companies are working together. Treyarch made the zombies mode. For some reason, this has a zombies mode. Every game has a zombies mode now. That used to be a Black Ops thing. It feels weird. It feels like there is less of a division between these studios, and I think it's leading to these games feeling more and more generic as time goes on. And on top of that, I'm just getting older and my games are changing. The taste that I have in games changes year after year, and Call of Duty just doesn't really do it for me. On top of that, I feel like now if you don't play Call of Duty for a specific amount of time, then you start to lose track of what's happening in the community. Gun balance changes, new content comes and goes. There are new collaborations that come out that you aren't familiar with. Warzone is now a factor in the main Call of Duty game because there's kind of like this cooperative release where Vanguard is launching this month, Warzone's getting a Pacific update next month. Lots of stuff going on like that. And so while that's neither good nor bad, it changes the experience in a way that I'm personally not fond of. That's just my 2 cents, though. But it looks like you're looking at 6, 7, 8, generally where you will find Call of Duty Vanguard landing. If you do want to pick it up, it's out now. I would be remiss not to mention there is a lot going on with Activision behind the scenes, a lot of employee accusations, a lot of mismanagement, and a lot of issues that are still being investigated by the government. Consider that when you are supporting these various games over the coming months, if that's something that factors into your buying decision. But Call of Duty Vanguard out now. Once again, Call of Duty is back. And it's back once again. It's pretty much all you really have to say about this one. That wraps up this week's episode of Xhibition, an Xbox podcast. But as always, I would love to hear from you what you think about everything we discussed today. And question of the week, what's the newest Game Pass game that has been added recently that you are looking forward to playing if you are a subscriber? I'm always looking to add new games to my list, and I would love to hear what you have to say. Personally, Unpacking is one that after I take a break from Forza Horizon 5, I'm looking forward to sitting back down with. And I've actually got an interview with those developers coming up in the next few weeks that I've got lined up. So excited about that. But as always, thank you for watching. If you're new here and you enjoy the show, add it to your subscription box by hitting the subscribe button on YouTube or on your podcast platform of choice. But I'll talk to you next week, and keep on playing.